Hi, I'm Barb, and I'm in my chicken suit, and I am ready to read you the first chapter of Going Steady by Janet Lambert. If you go to the post, you'll see a picture of the cover. I don't have a cover. It's been a long time, but somebody paid $1 for this once, and I believe no inscription. Alas. All right, this was published by E.P. Dutton and Company, 1958, and it's for Susan. No letter this time. Sometimes Janet Lambert will write a letter for her girls and put it in before the story, but I haven't seen one in a few books. All right, here we go. Chapter 1. Patty Palmer lived in the pleasant suburb of Cheltham, near Philadelphia, and in its newest development. Ranch houses and split levels dotted winding streets that began at a main arterial highway and eventually circled back to it after bypassing wooded areas. It was a pleasant place to live, and although her father often wondered why he had bought a house so far from his office in the city, and her mother wished she were nearer a shopping center, Patty was quite happy there. She was 14, at last, after having considered herself that for 11 months and 29 days. She liked her home and loved her parents, could take teasing from her older brother Douglas, who was a senior in Cheltham High, and was fond of Sam, the family cat, even though he had outgrown kittenhood and wasn't much fun anymore. In fact, she bubbled constantly and had more energy than she could expend. "Hi, Mom," she called one afternoon in October, galloping up the front steps and slamming open the door. "I'm home, yoo-hoo!" It was Patty's regular announcement whenever she entered, and she was supposed to be heard by her mother, in whatever part of the house she happened to be. No answer came back, so she shifted her school books and managed to slide back a panel door in the coat closet, and fling her navy blue jacket where a hook should be. It wasn't there, so, with the closet door left gaping and the CHS monogram on her jacket gleaming like a golden eye among the snow boots and overshoes on the floor, she followed the curving wall of the vestibule to the living room. "Hi, Mom!" she yelled again, prepared to either pass on through the dining room to the kitchen or open a door to the bedroom wing. "Oh, mercy, Patty," her mother said. Hold on, did it quit? Am I still recording? Fart. Now I'm going to have to edit this. All right. My computer fell asleep. Okay, yoo-hoo. It was Patty's regular announcement whenever she entered, and she was supposed to be heard by her mother. Oh, I already told you about this. The monogram and the vestibule. Hi, Mom. All right. Oh, and comes Mom. "Oh, mercy, Patty," her mother said, sitting upright on the sofa where she'd been taking a nap. "Nice life, Mom. Must you always scream?" "Yep," Patty answered, depositing her books on a chair. "You keep saying, 'Now let me know when you come home, dear.' And how am I know where you are if I don't yell?" "Sometimes." Patty saw her mother's gaze travel from her light flyaway curls down to her loafers that needed polish, so tucked her blouse into the band of her skirt. "Yes, ma'am," she said, and she gave a wide, unabashed grin as she asked, "Did anyone call me up?" "Now, how could they? It isn't 5 o'clock yet, and you've just left them. They haven't even had time to get home." "Steve has. He dropped off at his house, and Ginger only had to go to the dentist and get her braces tightened, so she should have called." "Oh, well," Patty shrugged and said philosophically, "I can always eat." "Now, not just before dinner, darling." Mrs. Palmer smoothed her brown hair where the pillow had disarranged it and added, "Surely you can't be hungry after you've been to the center." I am. That was ages ago, and I danced like crazy." Jane Palmer considered her daughter. Patty wasn't fat, in spite of storing away a tremendous number of snacks between meals. Her face was round, but only nicely round enough to accommodate winking dimples, a wide mouth, and 2 blue eyes that took up quite a lot of space. "I don't see how you do it," she sighed. "You're cute." Patty danced over her scuffed shoes and patted her mother's waves out of place. "Maybe I won't eat," she decided. "Maybe I'll call up Ginger or Steve before Pop gets home." "Oh, darling, you just left Steve," her mother protested, annoyed, and knowing it was useless to add, "Don't you think he should be the one to call you?" "You're quaint, but cute." A kiss was dropped on Mrs. Palmer's nose, and Patty walked back across the living room, then returned to pick up her book. "Aha!" she said, shaking her finger. "I beat you to it that time. So close your mouth." And she asked courteously, "Can I lie on your bed and talk, or do I have to go into the kitchen extension where you can hear everything I say?" "You may have the bed for 15 minutes, and it's to be a call to Ginger, not to Steve." Okay. Patty carefully closed the door behind her and proceeded along the hallway, her voice raised in song. Stopping in her own room, she tossed her books through the open door, aiming them in a curve at the bed and surprising the cat that was taking a nap. "Excuse me, Sam." She took time to apologize before she went on to a large room with silk counterpanes instead of cotton ones on its twin beds. Okay, clear some up. And wall-to-wall carpeting instead of mottled rug that wouldn't show spots. So cotton ones on its twin beds or multiple carpeting. Oh, right. Okay. So she's comparing it to her own room. One twin bed versus two twin beds. With a sigh of pleasure, she flopped across the bed and reached for the telephone. One loafer dropped off all by itself, and she rubbed her white sock against the other one until it hit the floor, too, while she dialed Ginger Johnson's familiar number. "Hi, Ginger," she said, when a breathless voice told her that her best friend had sprinted to answer the ring. "How's your teeth?" "They hurt." Unlike Patty, Ginger had a small mouth that wasn't large enough to hold its maze of wires and clamps, and she mumbled, "Soft diet tonight. You know that tooth that wouldn't come in? Well, old Doc Jenkins went up and hooked a wire to it." A scant 3 minutes were wasted on Ginger's troublesome teeth, and then Patty settled down to more important matters. "You've got a date for the Halloween dance?" she inquired, already knowing the answer. "Uh-huh." "Oh, sorry. Ma-uh." Seriously, so cute. Ma-uh. How about Bill Dalton? He told Steve he'd take you. He's a creep. "Well, my goodness, Ginger, you can't be so particular," Patty expounded. "When Buddy Gray asked you to the square dance, you said you wouldn't get caught dead with him. Listen, chick. Jack. You got... Okay, honestly, this is the 1950 whatever version of listen, bitch. All right. Sorry. "Listen, chick, you got braces on your teeth, so you ought to latch onto about anybody. My goodness, I think Bill's cute, and you could go steady with him and not always have to be worried about getting a date. He told Steve he wants to. He's really cute, Jen," she repeated, tired of worrying about a friend who somehow always seemed to come up with a good date at the last minute. And she pointed out for the 100th time, "You simply have to go steady with somebody to be sure of getting anywhere." "It's easy for you to talk." Ginger's voice came back through a bleeding mouth. "You've got Steve Harding." "Uh-huh." The conversation was rolling. Patty turned over on her back and cradled the receiver against her shoulder as she said, "Isn't he dreamy? Isn't he simply colossal?" "Huh?" Ginger wasn't sure what colossal meant. "What is he?" she asked. Wow, this could go a very different way. That's a word Doug uses," Patty explained. "It means..." Not being a walking dictionary, she defined, "He's a gorgeous hunk of man." Uh-huh. And I love the way his eyes crinkle up when he giggles. Steve was in, and Patty extolled his charms for 22 minutes. Oh my gosh, Ginger's a good friend. She'd just finished and was reaffirming the importance of always having a steady date when she felt an unsympathetic presence and sat up to find Douglas scowling at her. Douglas reached almost to the top of the doorframe and at just 18 was taller than his father. He had brown wavy hair, which Patty supposed was all right if he cared for the television announcer look, but she preferred Steve's crew cut. And he had the kind of gray eyes that never missed anything, and for the moment at least, a jaw that looked set in cement. "Cut it off, punk," he said. "I need the phone." And she lost one of Ginger's monosyllabic answers. "Just to call up a bunny." Her tone was incredulous and held a taunt that he let get by. He only stood and looked at her. "Well, goodbye," she said hastily. "Robin Hood wants to talk to Maid Marian. I'll call you later." "Scram," Douglas ordered, taking the telephone and pressing down on the little button which severed her from Ginger. And he did it in such a grim way that she crawled off the bed without a murmur. But safely in the hall, she shot back, "You think you're so important just because you go steady with the girl who's going to Vassar next year. I wouldn't..." The door slammed shut, and she was left to imagine Douglas sitting on the side of the bed, exchanging words of wisdom with Bonnie, since for some strange reason he always sat up when he talked on the telephone. Kind of freak is he? But since she could neither see nor hear him, she reluctantly discarded the shining robes of her own private life for the service uniform of family slavery. Her father was home. Patty supposed he was good-looking for a man of 46, as he was an elderly edition of Douglas. Elderly at 46? Janet, if I'm not mistaken, you were like in your 60s when you wrote this. Let us not throw stones. Oh, because from Patty's perspective, he would be old. I see what you did there. He had all his hair, with no gray in it, and where forceful character lines creased his cheeks, he might once have had dimples. "Hi, Pops, darling," she cried, skipping across the carpet to plant a hearty kiss in the middle of his forehead. "You're cute." "Oh, no." Ben Palmer lowered his newspaper with a sigh and answered mildly, "Hello, honey. Shouldn't you be helping your mother?" "I'm on my way right this minute." Patty stepped back and gave him the look that always made Steve Harding melt. "Can't I even take time to kiss my favorite man?" she asked. "If you don't want something." The newspaper went on down till it rested on his lap, and he inquired with resignation, "Allowance low again? Want to go out on a school night?" "No, to both, my pet, my dearest father. I just adore you." Patty spread her arms wide in imitation of the girl in a comic strip she liked to study, and copied the wide smile that always got the girl a fur coat and parental sanction for anything she wanted to do. "Shouldn't I?" she asked. "Yes, and I appreciate it deeply," he answered, reassured and ready to read again. "I hear your mother mashing potatoes. If you don't help her, I'll have to." "I fly to aid her." Patty's flight left ripples in the carpet, and watching her racket around the dining room, whisking placemats and silver on the table, all a little crooked, but there, lighting candles and crystal holders, and her father reflected pleasantly, "Kids are kids, and he wanted them. I'm lucky to have got a couple of good ones." His thoughts broke off abruptly as Douglas came in. "Bonnie's coming over to study," he announced, just as his mother came from the kitchen with a steaming tureen. "But the Allisters are coming for bridge," she said, setting the tureen on the table and straightening things. "We'll use the rec room." The recreation room in the basement was one of her husband's neglected projects. It had 4 plasterboard walls built to hide the furnace and hot water heater, and an inlaid linoleum floor, but the oil tank still sat nakedly in the middle of everything, and one lone electric bulb hung from a cord. "You kids can have the table in the breakfast end of the kitchen," she said firmly. "The rec room's out until you and your father do something about it." "Operation Finish coming up on Saturday," Douglas promised, as he did every week. Then he saw Patty's mouth open in protest and added, "Shut up, punk." "But Ginger's coming over," Patty protested anyway. "Her teeth hurt, so she's coming to spend the night. We'll want a snack, and Dad won't like it, and we'll want to play records, and you won't like it, so what'll we do?" "Exactly what your mother and I will," her father answered. "Make the best of it. We live here too, you know, and once in a blue moon we like to have our friends in. Doug can have the kitchen, you can have your bedroom, plus the telephone," he added pointedly. "It only seems fair for us to have one little card table in the living room, one little fire, and don't change your clothes because I'm recording."
I'm going to Katie's. I just wanted to say, I'll probably not see you.
Okay, all right. Don't go study. It's real bad. I'm reading about it right now.
What book?
It's called We're Going Steady. Learn from it, son.
I thought you said study. I was like, we're going to study. I was like, wow, that sounds like a... I love you.
Love you too. See ya. All right. Body's coming to study. Petty flight left ripples. Everybody lives in the house. Operation Finish. Okay. We live here too, you know, and once in a blue moon we like to have our friends in. Doug can have the kitchen, you can have your bedrooms, plus the telephone, he added pointedly. So it seems only fair for us to have one little card table in the living room, one little fire in the fireplace, and perhaps one little tiptoe trip to the kitchen for coffee and sandwiches. "Suits me," Douglas answered. "I have to take Bonnie home at 10, so try not to eat before then." "Thank you." Mr. Palmer got up and flung his paper down with as near a gesture of annoyance as he ever allowed himself, unless a matter couldn't be settled without shouting. "Suppose we do your mother the honor," he said, "of eating the meal she's cooked." Oh, my soul, Patty thought. He's so old-worldly. Do your mother the honor. Why, anybody'd think Mom had stood over a hot stove all day instead of just opening boxes of frozen things and sticking a steak under the broiler. She was about to speak of this when Douglas gave her a push. The dinner progressed, as most dinners do in a modern family of 4. The telephone rang twice, and each time Patty leapt up as if an electric wire had come loose in the seat of her chair and shocked her. "The Allisters have to bring their new dog with them," she said after the first call, "and want to be sure Sam's out. The pooch is death on cats." And on her second return, she simply yanked a thumb in her father's direction and settled down to a serving of icebox cake. Bonnie let herself in and came into the dining room, greeting everyone in her polite, well-bred way that was always a little puzzling to Patty. She said, "Good evening, Mr. Palmer. Good evening, Mrs. Palmer. No, thank you, I don't care for dessert," as if she'd learned it from a finishing school. Then she sat down beside Douglas in the chair he pulled up for her, and she'd done something new to her straight, light hair, Patty noticed. It wasn't so short and peculiar. It had the lazy swirls of a television commercial plugged, and it looked really cute. I like your hair, she offered hesitantly. Thanks, Bonnie smiled, and then did something that almost made Patty's eyes pop out through their lashes. She let Douglas hold her hand openly, right on the table, beside his dessert plate. There they sat, smiling at each other, with Doug looking as if he'd rather eat Bonnie than his icebox cake. No. And his parents not saying a thing. They didn't even frown. My stars, Patty thought. They'd tear me limb from limb. One night, when Steve tried to help me put on my coat, Daddy hopped up as if he was afraid Steve would touch me. She sat staring at the two, marveling at the way Bonnie managed to eat Doug's dessert without his making a single squawk of protest. She did it awkwardly with her left hand. My goodness, Patty finally had to remark, since her mother didn't. I should think you could at least give her back her hand so she could eat. She doesn't mind. Doug grinned at Bonnie and warned, You better save me some or I won't take you on my honeymoon. I may go on one without you. Bonnie wrinkled up her little nose at him, but she pushed the plate away. I've had enough, she said, and they got up and wandered off to the living room, still linked together. Patty sat and looked from one parent to the other. They were eating. They kept scooping up whipped cream as if their forks were on rotary belts, and they didn't so much as shoot the family look across the table. Well, but they clamped on Ginger when she bounced in. Ginger looked awful, Patty thought. A button was missing from her all-weather coat, and one pajama leg trailed from the bundle she clutched under her arm. Hi, she said, showing her unattractive braces. Hello, dear, Mrs. Palmer answered. Won't you have some dessert with us? No, thanks. My braces hurt. Ginger showed her wires again and then plopped her nightclothes and books on a chair and tossed her coat on top. My feet are okay, she said good-naturedly, so I'll help carry out the dishes. Poor child. Jane Palmer put her arm around Ginger's narrow shoulders and hugged them. Let's see, dear, she said, and she gave a pained ooh when she looked at the hole where the tooth would sometime be. It's not too bad, Ginger assured her, pleased that Mr. Palmer was peering into her mouth, too. I'm used to it, and it'll heal a lot by tomorrow. She was a thin little thing with a pert nose and gray eyes that would be pretty when her mother allowed her to use mascara. Her tan hair needed its nightly pin-up, and her mouth, though swollen, took kindly to lipstick. She did her share of carrying china and glass out to the electric dishwasher and chatted volubly while Patty's mother put the leftovers in the refrigerator. But when she was in Patty's room, she shook out her wrinkled flannel robe and continued the telephone conversation where it had abruptly ended. Don't start telling me that I have to drag Bill, she said, picking up her toothbrush and making a face at it, because I'm not going to. My Aunt Margaret called up and asked Mom if I'd take a blind date with her best friend's grandson, who's coming to stay with her while his parents go to Canada or something, and Mom told her I would. The dope. Aunt Mag's the rich aunt who gives us all the clothes and paid Mom's hospital bills, so I'm stuck. Oh, how ghastly, Patty sat. Oh, how ghastly. Patty sat down on the bed and stared pityingly at the poor friend who always had such bad luck. Braces and a blind date? Ugh, murder, she cried. How are you ever going to bear it? I don't mind, Ginger shrugged and hid the toothbrush away in her bathrobe pocket. I just got that little bit with the toothbrush. She is not going to brush her teeth because they hurt. Let's see. I don't mind. Ginger shrugged and hid the toothbrush away in her bathroom pocket. Aunt Mag says he's tall and handsome, but even if he's short and has pimples, I'll probably scare him. Doc Jenkins thinks he can fix the front wires in a couple weeks so they won't show at all. If I don't smile, open my mouth too wide, I'm practicing. She hopped over to the mirror above a built-in dressing table and grinned at herself, but Patty had talked enough about dental problems. Holy cats, she said, flopping back on the pillow. I wonder if Steve knows him. Nobody does. He isn't here yet. Ginger tried her smile a different way, a little up on one side and down on the other, so she looked like Sam when he hissed at another cat. Ginger, Patty cried, sitting up again and traveling along with her own thoughts. Do you know something? I think Doug and Bonnie are engaged. Oh, poodles, they couldn't be. They're in high school. But I think they are. They held hands right in front of us, and they looked at each other in the gooniest way. How? Ginger left her own reflection, and the two sat on the bed, discussing Douglas's romance. All right, so I think with fair use, I can probably only read the first chapter, and it's been 20 minutes. So I'm going to do 5 minutes of, commentary. I read this while walking laps in the pool. because that's the kind of weirdo I am. And I had previously been making notes in the books, but I really need to walk because I'm an old woman and I have to, get exercise. So what I would do is read while I walk and not take notes. And instead I would dog ear. And I've been doing this pretty much since I came back to the pool from Corona, when the gym was closed, when I was not comfortable going, before I was, got the shot. So I used to take copious notes. It took forever to get through a book. So now I'm like trying to crank them out a little bit. An average book, I have maybe 8, maybe 10 dog-eared pages. For this one, for We're Going Steady, look at the amount. Can you see how many dog-eared pages? And even some at the bottom. Because there were too many things on a page. So I am going to go through and write up the whole book. But I would urge you to, if you want to read it, go to Image Cascade Publishing and purchase it. It is a place where you can get, they reprinted, I think it's Joy Canfield is the name of the woman who started it, and it's fantastic. Anne Emery, I think Rosamund Dujardin is there, all of the Beanie Malone books, and I don't know if all of the Janet Lamberts are, but the only Janet Lambert I don't have in the, what are these called? Not keyhole covers, but in the, sort of original format, the only one that I don't have, old school, is an Image Cascade. So anyway, you can go there and buy it and read it because it's really, really fun. So maybe I'm going to write that up, and then maybe if you email me and you would like to discuss it, we can discuss it. 3 people in the world that are interested in this. All right, maybe we'll do a Zoom call. It'll be fun. Okay, I hope to do more of these, first hit is free videos. Seems like it should be a podcast. Kind of got a face for radio. I am doing this in my pajamas and no bra, but we'll see where the road takes us. All right, thanks for tuning in. Bye.